today we're gonna make a little owl scene. So you have a little owl cut out, you have a board and some clay. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a tree, and then we'll draw some features on our owl, and then we'll use clay to give the tree texture, and then we'll start painting. So what I'd like to do is I'm gonna kind of place my owl on the left side of the board, and then on the right side I'm going to just draw with pencil a straight-ish line going down. And then I'm going to do from that, so this will be our sky, this will be our tree, and then I'm going to make a little branch that our owl could sit on. Beautiful. That looks good to me. While I have my pencil, I'm just going to add a few details on my owl. So on the owl, this little portion right here is actually a wing. So I'm just going to mark it off. Now you could make your owl any color that you'd like. I was thinking maybe doing a gray, because we're going to have brown on the tree, and I think a gray would look nice. Then I'm going to make some big eyes and a little nose. And that'll just be a guide, so when I do paint it, we have some guide. All right, so what I'm going to do, I have my lines, I have my sky and my tree. So next, this is a mixed media project, so we're actually going to take clay, and this is just Model Magic. It's nice and fluffy. So I'm going to mix it around my hands for a little bit, and then I'm just going to take little worms and I'm going to press them into my tree. And this will give, and I'm going to press it really hard, that way we don't need glue or anything, and this is going to give our tree some texture. So when we paint it, it's going to look like bark. So I'm just going to continue doing that, making worms and pressing it down. So now that I have my texture, I am going to start painting. And I'm actually going to start painting the owl. I'm just going to paint, before I paint anything, I'm going to paint his eyes white to give it a nice white layer, and then we'll get into painting the background, and then we'll paint our owl. When we do get to our background, if you want to take this little string ribbon off, just cut it at one end, take it out, and then you could easily retie it and have enough room to hang it. If you don't want to do that, you can just paint around it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little owl, I'm going to take my small brush, and I'm going to paint his eyes white. And that is all I'm going to do to him right now. And if you get outside your lines, that's okay. So then I'm going to wash and dry my brush, and I'm going to find a larger brush. I have to just refill my water right now. You could take a larger brush, and we're going to start painting our sky. So to paint our sky, all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of turn it around. I'm going to use blue, and make sure you paint in those edges. And owls are nocturnal, so as I add blue, I'm going to add a little black to darken that blue. So hopefully we get like a night sky effect. once I'm finished with that blue, I'm going to wash and dry my brush. And then I'm just going to start painting my tree. I have paper towels to the side to dry my brush. But once I do that, I'm going to start using that brown and start painting my tree. I'm going to paint it solid brown and then we'll go back and add some texture to it. After I add that brown, I'm going to go back and with some black and just add some black streaks along my tree trunk. That's really going to like bring out some texture, add something a little. So I'm just using my bigger brush. I'm just going to add some black streaks. I'll add some black and then I'll go back over it on top of it with some brown. Painting's about layering. I even feel like I should add more texture with the clay, so I'm just going to take a little bit of clay at this point and make smaller worms and just kind of try and build up that tree. Make it. You can use clay to do your like little branch. I'm just going to paint my branch. So once I have that clay down, I'm going to take some brown, go over it. The clay is just giving us a little texture. As you're painting, make sure you're doing the sides as well. Tree enough for me. To make my branch, I'm just going to have a clean brush, a small brush, and I am just going to use black first, and I'm going to go out, it's kind of at the bottom. I'm going to go out with black and just make a little branch for our dude to hang out. When the branch meets the tree, that should be the thickest part of the branch. So you could go back, add a little thickness right there. So I have my tree and my little branch to my side. I'm going to wash both brushes right now. Wash and dry both brushes, make sure they're really clean. I'm going to go back with some white and add some like white details in my tree as well. I'm using my small brush and I'm just like lightly adding some white to highlight that texture. Also going to add some white on that branch so it pops. And once that branch dries a little bit, I'm going to go back with some brown. I'm just washing my brush because I got a little brown on top of it. While I have my white, I am just going to, with my small brush, I'm just going to add stars in my sky. So I am just adding like little dots in my sky. You could use the back of the paintbrush if you want a bigger dot, but I want a little more delicate dot. So I am just adding some dots. I'm going to take a little bit of white on my brush, then I'm going to put a little water in it, and let's try and fling some paint. And then I'm just going to use one of my like fingers and kind of put stars all over the place, little tiny ones. So I'm going to dip in water, dip in white, then dip in water, dry a little bit, and then I'm just gonna fling and put little stars everywhere. You could see it, you still see some of my big ones, but there's tons of little stars. Little stars, maybe even snow. But we don't want to talk about snow right now. I'm washed and dried my brush. I'm gonna go back with brown, add a little brown to that branch. If you got some stars on your tree, you could go back, add a little brown. All right, so there I have my tree. My little background is pretty much finished. I have my tree with my texture and a whole bunch of stars in my sky. Now let's work on this little dude. So I'm gonna make 2 colors of gray. So I'm gonna just mix it right on my paper here. So I'm going to make 2 colors of gray. So I always start with white. And then I'm just gonna add a teeny bit of black. This one will be the darker gray. That looks pretty good. And we go a little darker. And then once I have that darker gray, I'm gonna mix some of that darker gray into white so I get a whiter gray. So with that lighter gray, I'm going to paint my body. So I'm using my smaller brush because you're in such a small space right now. I'm gonna go around those eyes as best I can. Go around that nose as well. Got a little inside one of those eyes, but that's okay. I'm gonna wash and dry my brush. I'm gonna go back with a little bit of white and try and even out those eyes right now. That looks good to me. Next, I'm going to go back with that dark gray, and you could do that wing with that dark gray. And now this is your project, so you could paint it however you'd like. Do whatever colors you I'm going to go back and paint some light gray just over here. So there we have a difference between sections. But what is an owl covered in? He's covered in feathers. So what I'm gonna do is with my small brush and a little bit of black on it, I didn't even wash it, I am just going to start at the bottom of my wing and just put some black little feathers. It's gonna mix with that dark gray, so you'll get like a really dark gray feather. I'm just making like little lines. And you don't need that much paint. This is just going to give it a tiny bit of texture. I'm going to wash and dry my brush. I'm going to put some dark gray, just feathers, just in the chest of the little owl. Take some more dark gray and put it on top and into my ears, and do the top of his head with that gray. He looks like a very serious owl right now. I'm gonna make the beak black. So the owl's pretty much neutral colors. I made this little mustardy color, combining a little yellow with a little brown. And if you want to add just a little color into your eyes, you can by just adding a little bit around the outside, around the outline of your eye, because the middle of your eye will be black. But just to add a little bit of color to your owl, you could do that. Once I have that done, I'm going to take that black and I'm going to make the middle of the eye big black pupil. And there we have our little owl. If you want to put any like little details into your owl, feel free. You could also add a little light reflection in the black pupils once it dries a little bit. But we're gonna let all the pieces dry, and when the pieces dry, all you have to do is come back and you have to glue your little owl on the brand. You guys had fun painting with me, and this is a cute little fall project to get you in the autumn frame of mind. All right, have a great day.